Hello everyone, Richard here again. Today I'm going to be doing a sort of PSA kind of video. This is a video concerning a certain type of router. This is a TP-Link WR940N, and I'm going to be upgrading it to the DD-WRT software. Now in this video I'll show you how to do that quickly, but the real purpose of this video is to describe the error you get when you try and do that, usually with stock firmware to the DD-WRT firmware, and that is an error code 18005. So really this video is about clearing the error code or getting rid of that error code so that you can upgrade from the stock firmware to the DD-WRT. Now I don't know if this happens on other TP-Link routers, but it certainly happens on the W940N. So that's what I'm going to be doing this video on. I want to go over the physical setup of how I'm going to do this and how I recommend you do this. I don't recommend doing this wirelessly or ever updating firmware on a router wirelessly. You should always be hard connected. In other words, you should always be using a cable between your computer and the actual router itself. So right now I'm going to assume this is your home setup. You've got your router. It's connected to your modem through the internet port here, the blue port. So we're going to disconnect that. You need to disconnect the any cable you've got connected to the WAN port or internet port, the blue port here on the router, for this to work. If this is connected, it won't work. So we disconnect that, number one. Number two, if you have any other cables connected to the back here, disconnect them as well. So now the router is going to be standing by itself. The next thing you're going to do is get a patch cable like this one. This one came with the actual modem itself, router itself, and it's just a straight through Ethernet cable. You know, most Ethernet cables will do no problem. And if you don't have one of these, just take the one off your modem that goes from your router to your modem and use that. So we've got the cable. Cable goes into any one of the yellow ports or orange ports here, the Ethernet ports basically. I'm going to choose one. You can choose 1, 2, 3, or 4. It doesn't matter. We connect one end of that to the Ethernet port, and the other end goes into the laptop. So we'll plug that into the Ethernet port on the laptop like that, and we're ready to go. Oh yes, well, almost. Power up the router as well, and then we can go ahead with downloading the firmware we need from DD-WRT, and then I will show you how to resolve the 18005 error that you get when you try and install the DD-WRT firmware on this router. So let's get at it. We're here at the desktop. First thing we're going to do is disable Wi-Fi, because more than likely you're connected to this router through Wi-Fi currently, or whether you're not or you are, you want to disable all network connections except for the one that's connected to this router. So we're going to go down here and look at our network connections and click on the Wi-Fi the blue Wi-Fi button, and then it turns it off. So Wi-Fi is now turned off, so there's no way of being connected to this router through Wi-Fi on this computer. Again, caution you, do not do this with Wi-Fi. So it's disconnected, and next we're going to go look at, well, actually, I'm currently still connected here, you can see, to the internet, but there's a reason for that. Let me show you the reason. We're going to go get the DD-WRT firmware while we're still connected. And the way you do that is just go to dd-wrt.com. And then we're going to go to downloads. And then I like to use the beta firmware, and we're going to go here to other downloads and then betas. Then scroll down to 2019, which is the year we're in. And I'm using the latest version of this firmware, and it is the R38840. And it works fine with this router, so don't be concerned about that. That's what I'm using. I'm sure it'll work for yours. I'll give you a few warnings on how to do this here in a second. Next, we're going to have to find the firmware for this router, and mine is the WR940N. So there it is. Now understand, whatever router you're using, that you need to find the right firmware for that router. It has to be the exact right one. If not, you're going to have a problem. It's not going to work, or it's going to brick, what they say, brick your router, and then your router will no longer work, and then you have to recover it. And you don't want to go there, okay? So for sure, I know I have a version 3 because I've looked at the actual sticker on the back of the router, and it says WR940N version. Okay, so it's, as you can see there, ND version 3. Now, if you have a version 4, you go for the version 4, 5, 6, whichever one you have, go for that. And if you don't have this router, say you have an 841, make sure that you get the right version and the right model number firmware for your router. I'm being very, very explicit here because this is very important, okay? If you get the wrong one, you're going to be in a world of hurt. This is the right one for my router, so I'm going to click on it. And then you get 2 files to download, both 3.75. You're going to need both of them. Now, I've already downloaded them, but I mean, I'll just go through the mechanics here. Click on it, save the file, put it where you want. I've got it in my own directory with R38840, and you can see that I have both files in here already, so I don't need to download them. They're there already. And the first file, you need the first file to turn it from the factory firmware to the DD-WRT firmware, and you need the second file to finalize that process. So you need to do 2 firmware updates to complete the process of having this firmware in your router. So make sure you've got them both before you start, because you just want to be able to complete without having to go back out on the internet. So I've got them both. I'm all set for that. Now, we're going to go to the router, and in my case, it's on 192.168.0.1. That's the IP address of it. I reset it to its default setting so that I would know exactly where it is, and that it would all be set the way it would be if you took it out of the box. Now, some people may have it on a different IP address, and I'll show you how to find out what IP address your router is actually on. But first, for me, I got to physically connect that router. So I'm going to do that right now by disconnecting my LAN cable that was connected to the internet and connecting this router directly as I showed you in that clip. And then you can see that that icon changed, right? And now it's saying no internet access. Well, that's right, because that router is not connected to the internet. It's just connected. So if you want to find out what your IP address is for your router, just right-click this icon here. Go to Open Network and Internet Settings. Scroll through this until you see Network and Sharing Center, and then go to Change Adapter Settings right here. And if you right-click your Ethernet connector, your Ethernet controller here, while you're connected to this router, it'll give you these options. You're going to hit Status is what you want. Then we're going to go to Details, and in here it will show you a bunch of numbers. The default gateway is generally the IP address of your router, and in my case it's 192.168.0.1. So if you don't know what yours is, or 192.168.0.1 does not work, that's how you can find out where it actually is. So let's get this stuff out of the way. All this stuff, holy cow. All right, so now you know how to get your IP address for your router. We're going to go there next. So in the address bar, 192.168.0.1. And you can see that we're here at my router page, configuration page. Here we're going to type in admin, and admin, that's the default TP-Link username and password. When you reset the router, mine's been reset, so that's what it is. You should change this if this is what yours is, because you don't want the default username and password on there, because anybody can get into your router then. All right, it's just Google TP-Link default username and password, and it will tell you. So yeah, you don't want to stay there. So right now it's on the quick setup, because by default when you reset the router, that's where you end up. I'm going to hit exit on that. It says WAN port is unplugged. That's exactly the way I showed you it should be. So let's go to System Tools next and Firmware Upgrade. And here's where you actually take the firmware and load it into this router. So here we're going to go to Browse, and automatically it's going to the right directory for me. You choose where you put your firmware at, and I would choose this factory to DD-WRT firmware bin file. So it'll be the first step, and then we'll go to the second step. But I'm showing you this so you can see what happens here. I'm going to hit upgrade on this, and like I said, you can tell here that I've got the WR940N, and this is the firmware release that I have, which is the latest one. And I'm just for the stock firmware, that is. So here I'm going to hit upgrade. Are you sure you want to upgrade the firmware? Yes. And this is what you get, error code 18005, which is the whole point of this video. So at this point, you see that the upgrade is unsuccessful because the version of the upgrade file was incorrect. Please check the file name. So for some reason, TP-Link doesn't recognize the DD-WRT file, and I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but there is a workaround for that, and that's what this video is about at this point. But I want to tell you one other thing here. If you don't have the right file, right, this error will still come up. You need the right file, so you make sure that you've got the right file for your router and the right firmware version for your router. Now, if you're doing a stock upgrade and you get this is absolutely right. You need to have the right file with the right version. The version is very key, and if you don't know what the version of your router is, don't guess. Just look at the bottom of the router. It'll tell you, okay? It'll tell you what version you have, all right? So be sure of that. So here we have the 18005 error, and next I'll show you how to get past this error. So there we have the problem. Now let's do the fix. And this is where this thing gets interesting because it's kind of a strange fix, but it actually works. So let's go do it. Okay, so the next place we're going to go to is to the wireless tab here. And we're going to put a bunch of commands into this area, the wireless network name box right here. I know it's weird, but it'll work. Trust me, I've done this dozens of times and it works. So here's the commands that we're going to put into that box in the wireless network name field under wireless settings. And I will put links to all this stuff in the video description below so you don't have to type it out manually, but I'll put a link down there and you can copy and paste from there or copy it to your computer and copy and paste from there. That's probably the best way. So I'm going to take this first line here, highlight it all, right click it and choose copy. And then I'm going to highlight everything in here and hit my delete key on my keyboard. And here you can't right click and choose paste. It won't give you that option. But if you do hit the control key on your keyboard and the letter V on as in Victor on your keyboard, you'll get the paste. Okay, so we're going to put that command in there, and then we're going to hit save. And after you hit save, you see that the save box goes blue, and then it disappears. Once it disappears, you're ready for the next command. So we're just going to take that. Actually, we're just going to go to the next command right here. Right click it, choose copy, highlight everything in this field, erase it by hitting the delete key, and then I'm going to hit Control V again. All right, and here we're going to go save again. You'll see the blue around the save box. Once it goes away, you're ready for the next command. All right, so now you see the save box is now just gray again. So let's try this again. Okay, so the third line. So highlight it all, everything. So make sure you get it all the marks, everything on that line. Highlight everything here, delete it, and I like to delete it to make sure I got the right command in next. So now Control V, hit the save again, save box goes blue, wait for the blue to go away, you're ready for the next command. And we're going to go through all of these until they're all done. Control C, or right click it and copy it. So right click it, copy, over here, highlight it all, delete it, Control V, next one. Save, wait for the blue to disappear. Okay, your next line. All right, highlight it all again. So same procedure over until you get it all in there. So put it back in here. Actually, I should just highlight it all and delete it and then put it in there. There it is. Save it. The save button goes blue, disappears goes back to gray. You're ready for the next line. So right click it again, copy, highlight it all, delete it, Control V, save, blue around the save button. It disappears. You're ready for the next one. Here we go. Highlight it all, copy. Highlight it all, delete it, Control V, save. Blue on the save button, blue goes away, you're ready for the next one. Now on the last one, what will happen is that your router will silently reboot. But you won't, I don't think you'll, other than if you're looking at the lights on the router, you won't see anything actually happening on the screen. But if you want to look at the lights on the router, you can see this happening. So I'm going to right click this command here, copy it. And basically what this is doing is running the program we just saved into this box, into this router. So here we're going to hit save. The blue will highlight. If you look at the lights on your router, you'll see that the Ethernet light will just go off for a second and then disappear. And here, nothing will happen. It'll just say waiting, waiting, waiting. So I'm going to wait about, I don't know, 5 seconds here, maybe 10. See if it actually will reboot on itself, and it hasn't. It won't. So at this point, what you need to do, we've actually done the fix. There's just no real proof that you've done the fix. The fix is actually done at this point. So here we're going to type in 192.168.0.1 and enter. And you can see if it hadn't rebooted, we wouldn't be at the screen. We would just be at the default home page. So it did reboot. It just didn't show you that it rebooted. So here we're going to type in admin and admin again for the password, the defaults. Whatever yours are, you type yours in, but this is what they are here. And then we're back to quick setup. So I'm going to exit this, go down to System Tools, and then Firmware Upgrade. And we're going to try this Firmware Upgrade a second time. Ought to be interesting, right? Okay, so here we are, factory to DD-WRT bin, open, upgrade. Well, it says when it catches up here. Okay, right. I'm going a little fast for the router. I'm going to hit upgrade here. You sure you want to upgrade? Yes. And voila, no error. This time it actually boots. This time it actually does the system, the firmware upgrade as it should. So that's the fix for the 18005 error on the TP-Link WR940N. Now after this reboots, you should put in the secondary DD-WRT file, and I'll show you that here in a second because it only takes another second for that to happen. So, you know, like I said, in that script, I will put in the video description below. Now, you see this problem, unable to connect. Why this happened is because when you upgrade from the stock firmware to the third-party DD-WRT firmware, it changes the default IP address of the router to something else. So again, I showed you how to go get that for a reason. That's the reason. So here we're going to go to Open Network and Internet Settings again. Scroll down to Network and Sharing Center. Go to Change Adapter Settings. Right-click the primary router here. That's what I called it anyway. And choose Status and Details. And you see that the default gateway now is 192.168.1.1. So we're going to go there instead of the 0.1. 192.168.1.1. Enter. And here's the new firmware on this router. You can see here that it's the correct firmware that we loaded. We're going to put in a username in here, and I'm going to use my default, my favorite username and passwords for this. So you use what you would like, but the first thing it does is it forces you to put a legitimate username and password in. So change the password. Okay, so now we're in. We're going to go to administration here because remember, okay, and it's asking me for that password, so let me put that in. Ooh, now you know my username. Okay. And once it gets there, well, let's do that right. Okay, and now we're at the administration. Here we're going to go firmware upgrade. And remember I told you it's two-piece upgrade. First it's the DD-WRT file. Next it's the web flash bin. So we're going to go browse, back to my downloads. It's under DD-WRT, WR940N. and then here. So here is the web flash bin file. You have to finish this by doing the second flash inside DD-WRT. I hit upgrade, and when we're done, that'll be it. All right, so I'll wait for this to finish here. It shouldn't take too long. And again, I'll put this script in the video description below, as well with all the hardware links for stuff I like, and pertinent links to DD-WRT and so on in the video description below. If you've got comments, questions, or suggestions, again, comment section below the video. I'm happy to answer and get to those. So here, upgrade successful. The unit is rebooting. And when we're done, it should be back up and ready to go. So let me minimize this out of the way. And let's try again. .192.168.1.1. It should be ready now. Let's go. And there it is. Back to status here if you want to see what's going on. I can see that it's the correct version. Though here it's not seeing it as the correct version. It is a version 3, though it's seeing it as a version 6 for some reason. But it doesn't matter. It's working. It says version 3 here, R38840 standard. So that's how you fix the 18005 router error on a TP-Link WR940N. Now this may work for other TP-Link routers. Give it a shot. I mean, it won't hurt them. It either it's going to work or it's not. Okay. And the only trick really where you need to watch out for is that last command where nothing seems to happen. Just hit the last command after copying and pasting each command carefully and waiting for the blue on the save button to disappear, and wait 15 seconds. And then go back to 192.168.0.1 and do the firmware upgrade from the DD-WRT firmware, and you should be good. That's it for my video on the error 18005 on the TP-Link WR940N router. If you liked this video and it helped you out in some way, do me a huge favor. Click on the like button on the bottom right hand corner and give me a big thumbs up. That helps my channel, it helps my video, and I greatly appreciate it. Also here up in the top corner you'll see a picture of me. That picture is a subscription link. If you click on that picture, you'll be subscribed to my channel. As part of the process of being subscribed to my channel and clicking on that picture, you'll see a bell icon. If you click on the bell icon, you'll be notified every time I put up a new video, and then you can watch it at your own leisure. Once again, and like always, I want to thank you for watching and for your time.